Hello, people of social media. I am David Easton of Yorkshire Podcast Studios. We're asking questions, myself and James Butler here.
Hello, people of social media. I'm James Butler.
Things like this from Yorkshire Podcast Studios. Why should you, we be making video content? James, go.
Because other people are. If you're not doing it, you're going to be left behind. It's a really good way of being, well, visual, obviously, but getting your message across, getting people to understand who you are as a business, who you are as people. And video, if you're already doing an audio podcast, it's a no-brainer. Add video to it. If you're not doing a podcast at all, you should be doing one. Promote your business, promote yourselves, and get it out there under people's nose on all of the social media. Video as well is perfect for creating little clips for the socials.
And it means that when people are flicking through LinkedIn or social media like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube Shorts, it means that they see you, they hear you, they might like the look of you, they might like what you're saying, and that means that you can grab them like that on social media. And then, once you've got them, you bring them in and go, do you want to watch and listen to the whole thing? Feel free, come along, hit the link right underneath us right here. And that means you start that relationship between a possible new client or a client you've already got who wants to know a little bit more about you. From a business perspective, it just makes sense to be open, honest, and show that you've got a bit of integrity about you.
It also shows your organisation as a forward-thinking one. Shows that you are doing what you're saying you should be doing. Getting yourself out there on video, on the podcast, getting those clips out there. It should probably impress a few potential clients as well. Yeah, they are a business we want to get involved with.
So if you want to take video to the next level, take audio maybe you've already got and take it into a studio. We've got a range of studios here at Yorkshire Podcast Studios. You can find your way to take your business to the next dimension in video with Yorkshire Podcast Studios. So we're going to answer this question right now, is what has surprised us the most about podcasters when they come in? That's business podcasters, any podcasters, video recordings. What shocked you? Shocked. James Butler.
I've been so shocked. I've been shocked, actually, by how interested I've been in people's podcasts. Because we get all kinds of people coming in to use Yorkshire Podcast Studios. Not necessarily the kind of podcast that I would think that I would be watching, but I've actually been really surprised by how much I've enjoyed what people have got to say. And it just shows you, answers that question. Why should I have a podcast? Because people like me will actually enjoy what you've got to say. It surprises you how much you've got to talk about, and it surprises you how interesting it can be.
Because people come in and say, James, David, I have a factory that makes sprockets. Why should I need a podcast? Are people going to be interested? Well, tell us your backstory. Tell us about the people that work with you. Tell us about what they did before they worked with you. Tell us about how you got into sprockets. What on earth is a sprocket, James?
I've no idea, David.
No idea. Tell us all about it. The journey from sprocket to sprocket master, as you might be if you've started making sprockets in your sprocket factory. I've said sprocket too many times in this. But what surprises me when people come in and start recording with us is the bug that they get for podcasting, for creating video content, and they just love it. And they say, we want to do more. And then people who've been guests say, I want to host that one. Can I host that one? We'll do a special. We'll actually dig deeper into something that we haven't touched on before in the business. So we've got some companies come in and they'll do shows for International Women's Day, or they'll talk about the charity work that they do, or International Autism Day. We've had one a podcast based on that. And it just means you start to talk about things that are happening in your industry, and you become that thought leader. So you come from just simply making a podcast about you and your team, and then it grows and it grows, and you become that industry leader very, very quickly without having really to put in too much effort. The stories are there. We know because we're journalists and presenters, and we know how the media works, but everyone's got a story.
What's been quite interesting as well, and really good and productive, is that people come in and use the studio for the first time. They might get 1 or 2 episodes that are going to get out the way that week, and they're still thinking about, is this going to work? How is this going to happen? What are we going to talk about next time? And then before you know it, you can see the mind starting to go, and they're already thinking about episode 10, 11, 20, 25, and they're realising just how much they've got to say. And that's a really rewarding thing from our side of things, but obviously it's a rewarding thing for them as podcasters, because they can see the path ahead and how it can work for them, and how I can knock a microphone and be really amateurish.
That's the way to do it. What we'd normally do then is stop and maybe start again.
But not with, he won't protect me.
No,
That'll go out. That'll go out
That's
as is.
going on the clip.
How rude.
At Yorkshire Podcast Studios, we're just off the M62 at Junction 27 by the Big IKEA. We've got a lot of studios, we've got time, and we will help you create your video content.
A lot of people talk about how they're going to get their podcast out there, using their socials, using their websites, etc. But there are other ways to do that. And obviously, using the news, getting people to talk about current issues and then getting it out there in the news can actually really work for you too.
Really can. And we've had stories that have come up out of podcast. And because we have this kind of spidey senses when we're listening into when people are recording, and every so often something's said in a podcast and we go, hold on a minute, there's something in this. Let me give you an example. Ready for an example?
With great power, as Spider-Man was told, comes great responsibility.
Exactly. So here's one. We have a podcast video content creator, and he's in the water industry, and he sorts out contracts for, it's switchwatersupply.com. Visit them now. Did you know?
There's no need to keep it quiet.
Did you know that you can switch your water supply if you're a business? No, I didn't either. Very simple. Get the line out there. Anyway, he sorts out contracts for people who've got water bills to pay and their businesses. So a brand new factory opens in Hartlepool, just up in the northeast on Teesside there. Making concrete, wants a lot of water to make concrete, don't you? So you get onto the water provider. Weirdly, it's Anglian Water, who are the one company that look after Hartlepool's water. And what happens? They say, Hartlepool...
Anglia?
I know,
Hartlepool.
It's a long story. They bought Hartlepool Water a long time ago. So we need 6 cubic metres of water a day, or whatever it is. And Hartlepool's water company, Anglian, say, no, there is no water. Okay? Right, what? There's no water. No, there's not enough water for Hartlepool. So, journalist here goes, I know that's what that line is.
There's pool in Hartlepool. There's got to be some water somewhere.
It's by the sea. Yeah. It's by the River Tees. There is no water. Hartlepool's running out of water. There's your headline. So, I got on to a couple of mates of mine up in the northeast, Radio Tees, and our Graham, who works for switchwatersupply.com, gets on the radio and starts talking about this situation. A situation so absurd that the guy who was actually starting the factory, his plan, do you know what his plan was?
No.
His plan was to hire a tanker, in fact to buy a tanker, and he would then drive the tanker to his friend's site just down the road in Middlesbrough, Northumbrian Water. They've got lots of water, and they were going to fill a tanker every day and take the water back to Hartlepool. Ludicrous. So, in full watchdog style, we got on the radio for about half an hour, 45 minutes. Anglian Water came on, Graham was on, and the guy from the factory was on. We sorted out the bill. We got the bill sorted out. We got the contract created so he could get all the water. But Anglian Water, good to their word, they came on the radio and they said, we've got to talk about this. We need water sustainability. There really isn't enough water to go around in Hartlepool. And if you're starting to build new factories, we need to find a way to get that water to them. So not only do you get your business on the radio, you get the story out there, you got the contract sorted, and then you get a talking point on the radio about something that we are all going to be affected by in future. All coming from one throwaway comment in a podcast created here at Yorkshire Podcast Studios.
You can make the news work for you.
I'm David from Yorkshire Podcast Studios. Hello, and I'm talking to you right down the barrel of the camera. Now, that's quite intimidating, you might think, but it's the way people do it on TV. It's like presenting on TV, and it's difficult sometimes when you're actually being made to do this straight down the barrel and talking straight to you in social media land. James, what would you do?
Well, I'm James Butler from Yorkshire Podcast Studios, and some people find that this little dialogue where I'm looking at you and it's far more relaxed and it's far more appealing to people out there because we're a bit off guard, aren't we? We're just talking amicably, amiably, and it's a little bit less intense.
And when it comes back to down the barrel, it just means that, well, one thing I can do when I'm talking down the barrel of the camera is I can be intense if you want it to be like that. If I've got a message to sell to you, I can get directly to you straight down the camera. I'm just be pointing at you because that's rude. But you can actually talk down the barrel of the camera. And that's why you'll see on documentaries when people are doing quite emotional things or talking about what they've gone through, whether it's kind of 24 hours in A&E, they will talk down the barrel. One of the great documentaries of Sporting Times, which is NFL's America's Story, were the pioneers of this. And it's about really intense moments of being a team and talking and really getting those memories back. And it does have an effect because it makes that intense connection, which is eyeball to eyeball. If you are maybe selling something that's a bit more inspirational, it might be the best way to go down the barrel. If you're trying to just get across the fact that you are a welcoming, relaxed company, corporation, you might want to do it a different way, James.
Because you'll do your intro to camera, you'll say hello to people, but then after that you sit back and you just enjoy the flow of the conversation. You get your points across, you know what you're going to be talking about, you're enthusiastic about your subject. But apart from that, we're just having a bit of an old natter, aren't we?
Well, the other side of things with being a podcast is that it is a conversation. It's just a conversation that you, as a viewer, are not involved in. Now, that is a bit more disturbing if people are talking directly to you because you're like, well, I can't talk back to you, and yet here I am, you're talking straight at me. Whereas if it's a three-way conversation, you and I are having a conversation, we can just bring you into it because hopefully one of the two of us here are asking the questions that you would like answered.
When you're watching the news on the television, the newsreader is looking at you at home. When you're watching Coronation Street and they're in the pub, none of them are looking at the camera because they're enjoying their lives, aren't they?
However, I wouldn't really want to be involved in some of their lives the way things happen to them. It's a very high murder rate.
Be a good podcast, though.
It would be a good podcast. Yeah. And if they're very welcome to come into Yorkshire Podcast Studios to finish that off. And that means that when you come into Yorkshire Podcast Studios to record something like this, it can be slightly less intense for you as the person who's putting it across. If they're having to talk into camera all the time and also having to remember what they're saying, don't come in with a script if you have to read it straight down the camera because it's quite difficult to do. As a one-to-one, that is quite intense and not everybody can do it. That's not to say you're lacking by not being able to do it. It just means that it's just not working. And you know what? You might just get your point across a lot easier if you're having a conversation.
Just enjoy a chat.
Have a nice chat. Come into Yorkshire Podcast Studios and have a chat with us.
Can I look at that camera now?
Go on.
When people start on their video and audio journey, their podcast journey, they get a bit bogged down thinking about how many people are watching and listening, but that isn't the be-all and end-all.
Well, it's not, is it? Because what you want to see from a podcast is growth. You get an initial hit of people. You might have put it out there on your marketing, on your social media. You might have put it out there on your newsletter each week that's getting out there on email, and people will watch it and hopefully stick around and watch the next couple and be part of it. But also, you're not going to go and get thousands and thousands of viewers and listeners because, let's face it, your podcast is about something which is really quite niche, which is what you do. The important thing is that the numbers of eyes and ears that are watching you is consistent, and also they're watching you. They're still watching you, aren't they? And that just means that the right people who are interested in what you're selling, are continuing to engage with content that you're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to get the right eyes and the right ears onto your podcast because then you're talking to potential clients. You're talking to potential, money coming into your business, aren't you? Getting those right people. Talking to 26 people that might buy from you rather than 500 people that won't, which is better.
Exactly, because if you have 500 people that they're watching, and we do have podcasts who are really happy that they've got 500-600 people every week watching their podcast because they know that those people are intent on what they're talking about. They are enjoying their content and also they're engaging with that company on a regular basis. Now, every week, if you had 500 people in a room and you were able to, and business people, not people in your business, people with companies, people with money, people who are clients, people who want to be involved in your industry are watching and listening to your content. Imagine that every week, one room, 500 people, and you have an hour to talk to them, and they stick around for that hour. The power of that. Incredible.